Live from the news station, this is 7 News at 10.
Thank you for joining us. First on 7 News tonight, a shooting at a Spartanburg apartment complex. Take a look at the picture that we just got in from our partners at the Herald Journal. This is a look at the scene tonight. The shooting, police are telling us, happened about 9:30 at the Norris Ridge Apartments on Norris Street. Police say at least 2 people have been injured. There's no word on the extent of those injuries. Also, we are told right now at this hour, no suspects have been arrested at this apartment shooting tonight. 7 News is on the scene asking questions. You can see us once again at one of our apartment complexes, a large crime scene. We will take you to that scene for a live report as soon as we can, so stay with us for that. Also tonight, we have learned that a search is on right now in Pickens County for a missing 6-year-old boy. Investigators say they have been looking for this little guy since 5:30 in the afternoon. We're told that he had actually been outside playing there in Pickens County outside of a home when he just vanished. We are working to learn more about the little boy's name. We're trying to get you obviously a picture of him. A 7 News crew is headed to the boy's home on Midway Road. This is in Pickens County, as I mentioned. We will keep you updated on the air and online as soon as we have more to show you or to tell you. Tonight, a man is in the hospital after a driver struck his bicycle as he was riding down the street in Anderson County. This happened around 7:15 tonight on Midway Road. 7 News had a crew there on the scene shortly after. We're told we are the only station that was there as deputies arrested a driver who witnesses say hit the man. She was taken to the Anderson County Detention Center under suspicion of DUI. We'll have a lot more information for you as we learn more and look for more at 11 on Channel 7. As we approach Labor Day weekend, state and local officers are out in increasing patrols. It's an effort to crack down on traffic violations and also highway fatalities. It is part of the 25th annual Hands Across the Border campaign. That's what they're calling it. It kicked off today. It involves checkpoints at the state line in Georgia and South Carolina, as well as at the border of North and South Carolina. Also tonight, sunny and hot. That seems to be the theme for our upstate weather. Tonight, though, there is this tropical weather system that's headed closer to North Carolina's Outer Banks as we approach one of the last busy weekends of summer. And that's not all. People in parts of Florida are bracing for a storm system. So we want to head right to our chief meteorologist, Christy Henderson, to get the latest on these storm tracks.
Okay, Amy, that's right. Several systems that we're tracking. Hurricane Gaston in the Atlantic Ocean, not a factor, but these 2 tropical depressions will be impacting land either directly or indirectly. And of course, tropical depression number 8 is the closest to our coastline. And so we're closely monitoring that one, but it has not shown any signs of strengthening over the past couple of hours. So that does remain a tropical depression. It is forecast to intensify into a tropical storm by tomorrow. And then it's going to continue to get closer to the North Carolina coast as well. And so we've got tropical storm warnings in effect from Cape Hatteras over towards Morehead City. Notice, though, the track does carry it more to the north and northeast by midweek. And so we will see some higher waves. Probably will get some rain, also some gusty winds, especially if it veers to the left of the official forecast track. And then it's going to accelerate out to sea. Now, the second tropical depression we have is number 9. This one's north of Cuba in the Gulf of Mexico. That one also is forecast to intensify into a storm by Wednesday and especially Thursday. It's going to bring some wind and some rain to Florida and possibly to the South Carolina coastline getting into very early Friday before that one also accelerates out to sea by the end of the week. So good news for the Labor Day weekend, although we may still see some residual effects as far as waves are concerned. Here at home, not making many waves at all. We've got 70s on the map, and it looks like it's going to be a quiet night here at home. We'll talk more about our forecast and what you can expect coming up in just a few minutes. Amy?
All right. Thank you, Christy. Tonight, this man, 18-year-old Najam Thomas, is in custody in Union County, accused of attempted murder. Investigators say this stems from a drive-by shooting that injured a man. Deputies believe Thomas shot a 19-year-old 6, maybe 7 times on Monroe Street. Happened about 9:30 last night. The victim was flown to the hospital after giving police a description of the attacker. The victim is in serious condition tonight. The motive for the shooting still isn't clear at this hour. Spartanburg police need some help tracking down a robber who detectives say fired a gun and stole a truck to make the getaway. Detectives say it happened at the Spartan Federal Credit Union this morning, right off of Business 85 near Heron Circle. The Spartanburg Sheriff's Office tells us that the robber came in wearing a ski mask and fired a round into the ceiling with a pump shotgun. They say that he made off with some money in a white truck that belonged to a bank employee. Deputies later found an abandoned vehicle at the old Campus Place apartments. Deputies saw a blue BMW in the lot earlier and seized the tag. They believe the robber may have gotten away in that car. For Jeff Bishop, whose wife and son were right there in the middle of the bank robbery, it was a reminder how quickly life can change.
My son's scared. He could have been taken from me. My wife could have been taken from me. My whole life could have changed, but thankfully it didn't turn out that way.
The sheriff's office says the suspect is a black male in his 20s, light-skinned. He may be in a blue 2000 BMW. If you know anything about this, call the Spartanburg County Sheriff's Office. And now to a story that's made some national headlines. Reports of people in clown outfits trying to lure upstate kids into the woods at a local apartment complex. Now, Greenville police are stepping up the neighborhood patrols at Fleetwood Manor. Police say children at this complex are telling them that the people are dressed as clowns and they've been coming out of the woods and offering them candy. Parents we spoke to say they're worried about children who go outside and play.
It sounds far-fetched, it sounds like it's really out there, but I don't believe it. I believe it's true because there's too many sightings.
If you hear any reports of these clowns, you're being urged to contact Greenville County Sheriff's Office immediately. Mold may leave you wondering where everyone has gone at the Spartanburg County Courthouse. The solicitor's office relocated to the Sheriff's Department. The clerk of court's office and family court moved to the Emergency Preparedness Center. And a judge who hears foreclosure cases is not holding court. An environmental company is working right now to clean up the latest mold find. An upstate high school principal has reversed his decision and will now let students bring American flags to football games. Here's a picture of students being told not to bring the flag onto the field at the Travelers Rest High School game, at the home game there. Travelers Rest the principal says that in the past the flag had been used to taunt the high school students. Most of those students are Hispanic. Lavely, the principal, had hoped to avoid similar incidents and put the policy in place which prompted the big backlash.
I'm very disappointed in the fact that I was expected and the people who brought the flags were expected to be disrespectful and using it in a taunting manner.
The school will now allow flags to be brought to the games. The administration says if they notice a student using the flag to mock or taunt someone, they will be disciplined. Advocacy groups are asking an appeals court to expand a ruling on transgender restrooms and access to cover people across North Carolina. A federal judge made a preliminary ruling that says 2 transgender students and an employee must be allowed to use restrooms matching their gender identity at the University of North Carolina campuses. He'll make the final decision on this after the case goes to trial in November. Advocacy groups say the injunction is an important step, but they're asking that it's extended to all North Carolina transgender residents. If you're looking for a job, this could be your week to get back to work. Tomorrow, there will be an Esurance job fair at the Greenville SC Works office in McAllister Square. This company is looking for sales and claims representatives, but there are more than 6,000 jobs available right now across the upstate. And a lot of the time, SC Works can provide you with the training or show you where to get it at little to no cost.
Look at the career paths that are available, because you may have to start at entry level, but there are a lot of opportunities to really grow your career once you've got your foot in the door.
The Esurance Job Fair requires you to register online before you go, so make sure to head to our website, WSPA.com. That is where you will find all the information you need tonight. And next on 7 News, an upstate medical practice forced to pay $300,000 after it was caught illegally buying an unsafe drug and giving it to patients. And tonight, Hollywood in mourning, the well-known actor who passed away and why he will forever be known to kids around the world who grew up watching one of those famous films. Turning our attention right now to that breaking news we're following out of Spartanburg. We brought you this at the top of the show. The shooting at Norris Ridge Apartments, which is on Norris Street in Spartanburg. Police are telling us at least 2 people are injured. We've just learned one of the victims is a pregnant woman. 7 News reporter Nikel Smith is joining us from the scene. What do we know about the people who've been shot, Nikel?
Well, Amy, what we know so far is that that man and a pregnant woman have been shot here at Norris Ridge Apartments and that they have been taken to the hospital. No word on their condition at this time. Spartanburg police tell us that the suspect drove by in a vehicle and left, so that suspect at this hour has not been taken into custody. Investigators are still on scene here at Norris Ridge. This happened at about 9:30 today, and the forensic van from the Spartanburg Police Department pulled up maybe about 5 minutes ago. As you can see, lots of law enforcement presence here as investigators are processing the scene, trying to figure out exactly what happened. You see the crime scene tape that's just ahead of us. Some residents out here walking around as well, trying to figure out exactly what's going on here. And this is the same Norris Ridge Apartments where we brought you a live report less than 2 weeks ago where someone else was shot and that person was killed in that incident. So a similar scene here again tonight for these residents. Police tape, crime scene tape, police officers, investigators trying to figure out what happened with the shooting that happened about 45 minutes ago. Of course, we'll continue to bring you the very latest information as it comes into our newsroom. For now, live in Spartanburg, Nikhil Smith, 7 News.
Yeah, Nikhil, really quickly before I let you go, what are people saying? Have you had any? I know you've been working to just get us on the air live, but have you talked to anybody there? Are people upset 10 days later where you're doing this again in the same neighborhood?
As soon as we pulled up here, Amy, someone approached our car and said, "What's going on?" And we told them that it was a shooting. They were like, "Oh no, can't believe this is happening." So, of course, surprising here for residents. Once again, when we were here a couple weeks ago for that other shooting, someone else approached us and said that they were surprised to see that the shooting had taken place here. So it doesn't matter how often these things happen. When it comes to people who live here, they're always going to be surprised every time it does happen, Amy.
All right, we'll see you with an update at 11. Nikhil, thank you so much for your live report tonight.
It's alarming that something like this could happen.
Drugs. The FDA hasn't even ruled as safe. A Greenville medical practice pleaded guilty to buying the non-FDA approved drugs. The U.S. Attorney's Office says this involves Botox drugs purchased from Ireland from 2010 to 2013 by Neurology Associates of Greenville. If you think Botox is just for wrinkles, think again. 7 News reporter Aaron Rodgers spoke to a former patient with terrible migraines.
I had no idea this was going on.
Bruce Wilson had been a patient at Neurology Associates and resorted to using Botox after being unable to find a relief for his constant migraines.
It was probably about 8 or 9 injections throughout my body, on top of my head and whatnot. It didn't work.
He says the pain came back the very next day. And now he's upset that he wasn't given a drug approved by the Food and Drug Administration.
I wasn't told that, yes, there were some problems or there were some concerns about some of the medicine we've issued you or gave you.
His doctor's office was placed on probation after pleading guilty in federal court today for receiving non-FDA approved Botox across state lines. The practice also paid a $300,000 fine from a United States civil case for submitting Medicare claims on the non-approved drugs. We saw the for sale sign in the yard, but it wasn't until we walked up to the door that we saw Neurology Associates closed at the end of June. Dr. Barry Bishop, a plastic surgeon we talked to, says when you're dealing with drugs, everyone involved needs to do their homework.
You have to ask questions about the various products, and we as physicians have to ask questions.
He also says a non-FDA approved drug won't necessarily hurt you.
Non-FDA approved doesn't necessarily mean it's a dangerous or bad drug. It just hasn't been studied for a specific situation.
But still, patients say they will use this as a learning experience.
Make sure I, check the next doctor I go to. I definitely want to be given medication that is FDA approved.
In Greenville, Aaron Rodgers, 7 News.
The practice was placed on a 3-year probation. That office only left a fax number and a PO mailing address as contact information. They said that they would have updated information on the company website, but we looked there and we could not find any information like that for you. Tonight, fans and Hollywood insiders are mourning the death of this veteran actor, Gene Wilder. His performance in Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory was magical for so many of us. Wilder also starred in all kinds of comedy classics like Young Frankenstein and Blazing Saddles. The actor and writer died late yesterday in Connecticut. He had been battling Alzheimer's. He was 83. Nearly 4 years after the shooting rampage at Sandy Hook Elementary School, the newly refurbished school is finally open for classes. Today, students set foot in that new 87,000 square foot building in Newtown, Connecticut. Children had been attending a nearby school ever since the lone gunman opened fire at Sandy Hook in 2012. 26 people, including 20 first graders, died here. The classrooms where the shootings happened are now part of an unmarked grassy area that's in the middle of the parking lot. And now the race for the White House. Donald Trump's campaign announcing he's going to speak at an African-American church. It's happening in Detroit on Saturday. He has been reaching out to the minority voters since last week, but most of the speeches have been in front of predominantly white audiences so far. Trump's campaign also released a new ad that is focused on the economy, but some of the experts and political observers say it's a little too late.
This is an ad that could have been put out months ago. It could have been running all summer to have the maximum effect on an electorate. You know, early voting starts in just a couple weeks.
Meanwhile, Hillary Clinton is on track to have her best month of fundraising since the start of her campaign. She raised more than $11 million at 3 events in the Hamptons, and that's just on Sunday alone. Along with her vice presidential nominee, Tim Kaine, the pair have raised more than $70 million for the month of August, which puts them on track to lightly beat their $90 million record set in July. Also tonight, former Congressman Anthony Weiner is facing another sexting scandal. The New York Post says he's been sexting another woman. Weiner resigned in 2011 after he admitted to sending lewd photographs of himself and pursuing women on Twitter. The Post reports that Weiner is still sending scandalous selfies, and his wife, she finally had enough. She has decided to separate from her husband.
All right, well, we had a very quiet start to the week, but the tropics are active, and that's really going to take center stage over the next couple of days as we expect some big impacts in some cases to parts of the southeastern U.S. Here's what we're looking for as far as our weather's concerned for tonight. As you go to sleep tonight, you're not going to have to worry about anything developing. It's going to be very quiet. We'll expect that nice warm air to stick around that we're familiar with by this point. And going into tomorrow morning, no worries for your drive to work. Should see some sunshine, a few clouds out there, and overall a pretty quiet day for us. As I mentioned, we're tracking the tropics, and we have some changes here at home after a front arrives later this week. It's going to bring in some cooler temperatures for Friday that will stick around right through the holiday weekend. So some very nice weather on the way for us. Couple of chances of rain between now and then that we'll talk about in just a second. As far as the tropical weather goes, it's busy. It's supposed to be. We're in the middle of hurricane season. Hurricane Gaston continues to churn in the Atlantic Ocean. No threat to land there. We have tropical depression number 8 off the coast of North Carolina and tropical depression number 9, which is just north of Cuba. The latest forecast track on tropical depression number 8 from the Hurricane Center is the one that's still moving it generally to the northwest at 6 miles per hour. Top winds of 35 miles per hour. Hasn't really strengthened over the past several hours here, but it will continue to edge a little closer to North Carolina. And so tropical storm warnings are in effect from Cape Hatteras down towards Morehead City. By tomorrow, should be upgraded to a tropical storm as it's going to be over the very warm water of the Atlantic Ocean. And of course, light upper level winds will allow it to strengthen as well. As we get into Wednesday afternoon, though, it's going to start to accelerate away from land. So really during the day tomorrow into early Wednesday is when North Carolina has the best chance to see some fairly big impacts from that storm, which will include some higher waves, also rip currents, and of course gustier winds. Tropical depression number 9, top winds of 35 miles per hour, also expected to strengthen into a storm tomorrow. That one's moving to the west-northwest at only 5 miles per hour. So this is Tuesday, 1 p.m. It's going to start to take more of a turn to the north by early Wednesday and then eventually to the northeast during the course of Wednesday afternoon and Wednesday night. And so that's going to start to bring some rain. That could be flooding rains across the northern and central part of Florida. If it goes a little bit to the left of the official track, then that's going to carry more of the heavy rain into South Georgia during the day on Thursday into Thursday night. And coastal sections of South Carolina will see some winds picking up, potentially some rain, although most of it will be along and to the right of the track. So if it maintains that official forecast track, then South Carolina may not get much rain, but you'll see some higher winds along some of the beaches and, of course, the rip currents as well. And then that one starts to move on out during the day on Saturday. So leftover waves will be around for the holiday weekend, but the weather overall will be very nice. And that's how it's been for us. Very quiet conditions here while folks down to our south have had some rain. Into tomorrow, a warm start to the day, a mostly dry afternoon, just a few showers for us on Wednesday in the mountains, and then after a front rolls through, cooler weather for the end of the week. So here's the forecast for the next 72 hours, near 90 degrees for the next 3 days. The front arrives and check out the highs. 82 on Friday, a high of only 80 on Saturday. Beautiful weather all weekend. There's your mountain forecast. 85 tomorrow, but 70s during the weekend.
All right, Christy, lots to keep track of there,
right.
and with the news side tonight, too. Thank you. Coming up next at 10, if you don't have a credit card or simply can't afford most airline tickets, a website has a new option that could make your dream vacation reality. Details coming up. The days of dreaming of a vacation and not being able to afford the cash for the airfare soon could be over for a lot of people. Here's what's happening. Thanks to cheapair.com, you can now buy an airline ticket through a 3, 6, or 12-month installment payment system. And credit-approved financing is also available for tickets that are more than $100. There's no limit on how many tickets you can request financing for. The website also lets the customers pay with Bitcoin and Western Union. But keep in mind, they're going to charge you some hefty interest rates to take advantage of it. Commercial drones can now fly in the U.S. The new Federal Aviation Administration rules went into effect today. The FAA estimates there could be up to 600,000 commercial drones operating by the end of this year. The popularity of the unmanned aircraft has given us close looks at natural disaster. It's even the idea of the drone pizza delivery system that they just demonstrated in New Zealand last week, for example. FAA officials say this could lead to a lot of economic growth.
Over the next 10 years, commercial unmanned aircraft systems could generate more than $82 billion for the U.S. economy, and by 2025 could be supporting as many as 100,000 new jobs.
All right, before today, anyone wanting a commercial drone license from the FAA needed a pilot's license, something that was time-consuming and cost at least 20 grand. New FAA rules lower the bar. Commercial drone pilots have to pass an aeronautical exam, and the drones must be under 55 pounds and stay in the view of the operator, and they cannot fly higher than 400 feet. And if you want to fly at night, you have to get a special waiver. Coming up, we have sports on the way. Opening week for the college teams, including the Gamecocks' new coach, dealing with the unknown. He's going to talk about that.
Panthers needed a punter. Cleveland felt like they needed to move theirs, and so Carolina gets a guy who's originally from their backyard. They acquire former West Oak High star Andy Lee from the Browns for a 4th-round pick in 2018 and former Wofford punter Casey Redfern. It's a story with another local angle. Lee fell out of favor with Browns coach Hugh Jackson by making no effort to tackle area native Adam Humphries on this punt return in Friday night's preseason game. Other than that, he's a 4-time All-Pro, and he also played in a Super Bowl with the 49ers as well. Good evening, everybody. Will Muschamp's first game week news conference at USC, including news that former starting cornerback Rico McWilliams has left the team, and Muschamp says McWilliams has given up football, implying that he no longer had interest. Today also included releasing the depth chart for Thursday's opener at Vandy. It has the word "or" for the 3 quarterbacks who've been in the hunt for the starting job. That announcement will come later in the week. It's a very young team all the way around, and of course a lot of guys will be counted on who will be seeing the bright lights for the first time Thursday in Nashville.
You never know how some of these guys are going to respond when they run out of the tunnel. I may be beating some of them out of the tunnel. So, you don't ever know how a young man's going to respond, and he's never been in that situation, been on national TV in a conference road game in a somewhat uncomfortable situation. When you talk in terms of adjustments as a staff, that's part of the adjustments. Maybe a young man isn't responding as well as we thought he would.
Muschamp, by the way, said that 2 quarterbacks would play on Thursday night. Of course, South Carolina opening at Vanderbilt. 3 of their first 4 games are on the road, and all 3 of those road games are conference ball games at Mississippi State and then at Kentucky after a home game against East Carolina. Finally, this past week in the high school red zone, Gaffney blocked 4 punts by Union County, and Jaden Clayton was in on all 4 of them in the Indians' rout against the Yellow Jackets. They got a great game in a lot of aspects, but boy, when your special teams are creating points or good field position, life is good all the way around.
All right. Well, really quickly?
Yeah, our weather stays quiet here, but still tracking those tropics at 11.
All right, we want to recap the breaking news tonight. We have our top story, the Spartanburg police trying to figure out who shot a pregnant woman and a man at the Norris Ridge Apartments in Spartanburg. Both are expected to survive. We're also following a missing 6-year-old out of Pickens County. Look for an update at 11 over on Channel 7. Thanks for watching. Good night.